You wouldn't naturally think that coffees and salons would partner together.
We didn't know anything like that existed.
I love coffee, but I know nothing about the business.
Wholesale is sort of like this hidden part of the business. I think it's also like connection and it's rituals and traditions. You have connection over that cup of coffee. Coffee just elevates that experience so much. Not everyone has that drive for service. That's sort of like the part that people don't necessarily think about.
Welcome back to the Reinventing Beauty Podcast. Today, I'm joined by two special guests. So I'm super excited to be here with Kaitlyn Hogan, who is my literal right arm in life. She does everything for us within the salon, manages a lot of our education stuff, and basically, truly just helps me with every little endeavor, every crazy idea I have. And then we're also joined by Nora Brady, who is one of the co-owners of Blueprint Coffee and one of our latest collaboratives. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So excited to be with you guys today. Nora, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what your journey's been, and then we'll talk about how we connected and what's happening with all of us.
Yeah, I'm one of the co-owners of Blueprint Coffee. We started our journey in 2011, officially opened in 2012. So I have been in Blueprint and with Blueprint for a long time. We're from St. Louis and I have lived here and grown up here. And so like getting to grow a company within the St. Louis region has been truly special, like grown up right alongside the company.
Amazing. Why don't you start and kind of talk about what this journey has looked like? We know Blueprint because when we were living through a house remodel in my current home, Katie and I used to work from home a lot, and we ended up at Blueprint every day for probably a 2 or 3 month time period. And then we disappeared once our home was done being remodeled. And I think they thought, where did you go?
Yeah.
We were
the cost
always
of the kitchen.
Yeah. Free to pay for the remodel. And we had to stop having coffee. But anyway, why don't you explain a little bit about how we've gone from...
Once we decided that Essere Blu was going to take on another role in introducing Essere Cafe, I entered the web just trying to figure out what the coffee business looked like. I love coffee, but I know nothing about the business. So I needed to figure out what the foundation of Essere Cafe was going to look like. So I'd found a company who covers most of the Midwest, but I didn't feel like they really understood who we were, that our main goal was hospitality and the client experience. It wasn't just, let's produce a coffee shop that makes a bunch of revenue. Like that wasn't what I was looking for. And I didn't like that there wasn't a local connection because this is going to be a big step for us. So what is that going to look like? We're going to need the support. So then I started like compiling my list of all the cafes we've been to and just trying to see if there's a connection point or somebody that I would be able to email just to ask for help. I didn't know what that was going to look like. And then once I found Blueprint's partnership opportunities, I knew that that was the right step. We had talked about, why don't we look at a Blueprint Coffee to see if they could partner? What is that going to look like? And so it was always just something in my head, but I never really followed through until it was time to get that journey started.
That was a very happy discovery for us. Maybe, Nora, you can tell us a little bit about what that program looks like, because we didn't know anything like that existed. And it's been a tremendous blessing for us. I don't know how long it would take us to actually get this thing going if we had to navigate this on our own.
Yeah. It was like, Katie, when I saw your inquiry come through into my email, it was like very clearly from the beginning that our values aligned. It was like, we highly value, if you guys were regulars in our cafes, we highly value customer experience. It's like, that's why we do what we do, is to make those connections and give people that experience. And that's why they keep coming back, And so it was like very clearly that our values were aligned in that. And so it was just like an easy yes. It's like interesting to always see people go experience our retail cafes and then learn more that our business is more than just a retail experience, because we truly do offer a wide scope of services. And wholesale is sort of like this hidden part of the business until you're really looking for it. You wouldn't know that it's a need out there. And it was so funny. I'm like talking to someone else this morning, another partner that, we're starting to jump into with, and what sets Blueprint apart from other competitors in the market, and it was like, I didn't really know how to answer that question, except for that the amount of attention and service and care that we truly give consulting, it's like really figuring out how to implement coffee service into all these different types of businesses, right? You wouldn't naturally think that coffees and salons would partner together and move forward. And it's a different concept, that we've seen out there before. And so it's like really trying to tailor the experience to each partner and to their needs, So that's like one of my favorite parts about my role, is that I always get to have a hand in helping people build their businesses and their dreams. It's like getting to help, like, from the jumping off point and consulting on all different types of projects, and how using our knowledge of what we do with coffee expertise, and then that partner, what they do, and, really creating a special experience.
I think that was one of the things that was probably the most exciting part for you. I mean, when Katie talked to me about it, she was like, no, I feel like they're the ones, like they're so willing to look at our business, try and understand our business first, which, I mean, when I say that, the coffee house is part of that business now, are going to become part of that business, but understanding what we do first and how we do that really well, and how we want this to be an extension of what we're doing, has been a really beautiful piece of what I feel like you were attracted to.
Absolutely. The communication was effortless. And that's one thing for us that we want to be able to provide to our clients. And so in this instance, like, we're your client and now it's becoming a partnership. And how can we integrate two completely different businesses that align so well? They make total sense. So we're excited for
it really,
the next step.
Yeah.
I think that would be my next question, is just like, what did you see in Essere Blu that you thought, this could work? Because I'm not sure we fully knew. We were like, it really helps us that you guys are confident in this.
Yeah. There's a handful of things. One, just, your momentum around customer, like guest experience. Number one, it's like, if you're willing to go the extra mile and really like be at the top of your game on guest experience, it's like, that's what we value so much. Also, too, like your location, your proximity, it's like I said, like, we have a lot of accounts in the area, we wholesale all over, but we don't really have a strong account in that area, like in that county geographically. And there is a draw for it. There is the need for really nice coffee. Need, because people are driving to our Watson location from that area to get that experience. And so just like pushing out into the county a little bit more, I think it's going to be perfectly aligned, like location wise. And then Katie sent me an email, shortly after we met the first time, which is a follow-up question about sourcing and your values around sourcing and carrying like products that have really, good intention behind them. And I was like so happy to see that come across, because it's not always on the forefront of people's minds. Is like, where is this coming from, and who has hands in it, and who is this benefiting or not benefit, and so that's something that we have taken extremely seriously over the last 12, 13 years, is formulating these relationships with the farmers and importers and exporters, producers that we source coffee from, and continuing to invest in those relationships. So we have 9, 10 plus year relationships at origin where we're sourcing coffee from. And that was just like the icing on the cake for me. And I was like, okay, it really, there's a lot of thought behind what you guys do and want to present. And that was very, very affirming to me.
Yeah, it was so affirming to us as well. I think we knew in that moment, we were like, oh my gosh, it doesn't feel like it could be a more perfect fit. Down to even the vibe and the energy that we feel when we experience a Blueprint coffee house, and being able to bring that and blend that so seamlessly into the salon environment that we're getting ready to open. What do you look for when you're going to hire a barista? When you're looking to hire somebody new for your team, what are some of the qualities that you look for?
Yeah, I think it's really just finding the people who take true pride in showing up and doing the craft. And again, going the extra mile for the guest experience. Not everyone has that drive for service. And it's very apparent when you have conversations with people all the time, if they are passionate and can carry through sort of like the vision and the way that we treat guest experience in our own cafes. And it's like, we really look for people who just automatically take ownership of their position and pride in the work that they do. It translates so seamlessly when you find someone who shows up with that energy. It's key.
So during our first introduction call and our first time actually together, you had mentioned that salons and how can we branch out into these different industries. And you even mentioned a hair salon. What do you think is the correlation and how it can be so successful?
Yeah, it's true. In our sales investigation and journey and just like brainstorming, it's very normal for us to be in breakfast restaurants and cafes and offices and grocery stores and things like that. But it's like, how do we expand our market even more? And like, where is the need for coffee? And like myself as someone who thoroughly enjoys my experience when I go to a salon, it's like, coffee it just pairs so perfectly. It's like everybody is walking in the door with their coffees and ready to chit chat for the next 2 to 3 hours. You know what I mean? So you got to be fueled up, and then you leave that space feeling even more confident than the way that you walked in, right? And so like coffee just elevates that experience so much. And it's like coffee is an amenity, just as like if you're walking into a spa or like getting a tea or, a glass of white wine or something like that, it just elevates the experience that you're in. If everyone has a beverage in hand that is delicious, you're more likely to be chatty and relaxed and having a good time. So it's just like, it's all part of the experience. And I'm so thrilled to find a partner like you guys who really do care about that guest experience. I think it's going to be really something special that you've created.
Thank you. I mean, we are excited. I have to say it was maybe partially a selfish endeavor because Charles and I have had the privilege to travel to Italy often. I mean, there's no place that I'm sure there's places that have better coffee. I don't know, but their coffee, their cappuccinos are so amazing. And it's always such a disappointment when we come home if we don't have a coffee house that's really accessible to us. In the location that we were in previously, we had a chain coffee house in front of us. I thought it was funny, and it also brought light to the fact that our coffee service for our clients probably really sucked because most people, even though they could get a complimentary coffee with us, would come in with coffee from the coffee house chain that was right in front of us. And so we started thinking about now it's also a timing factor because they would come in 10 minutes late holding their coffee that they had just waited in line for.
Yes.
What if we could make them a better coffee? Yeah. And the other piece for me is the piece that I want my cappuccino in a coffee cup. I don't want it in plastic or in paper, not plastic, but in a paper cup. So to be able to serve that to a guest in a way that we felt like was more of an extension of our space and could make it more custom. Now, we did not have any faith in our coffee making abilities, which was where it became such a beautiful thing. We're excited to be able to offer it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think too, even in our last location, we tried to make the most of it. We would have stylists that would run and go grab their clients' coffee from this place. And so we're trying to create that experience that's so effortless for them. But to be able to actually sit and enjoy a delicious cup of coffee will make much more of a statement. Yes.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's going to be give such a, lasting impression on that person who comes and sits and has this experience for 2 or 3 hours and, and then carries that off with them. I think it's special.
As we started to dive into it deeper and develop it, we started to realize that it's probably not going to just be a coffee house for people in the salon. I think people in the salon will come to the coffee house when they don't have the point. I think the two businesses interacting together can be a really beautiful thing if the vibe is right. And I think our salon vibe supports the coffee house vibe really well. And so I think it's going to be a really nice partnership.
Just a place for people to gather, because what we found is that our clients will just turn and start connecting with the clients that are nearby. So to be able to do this outside of their service will be
or friends that come together. It's kind of funny. They come together for an appointment, and we had no space in our previous location. And then they would be hanging out in front talking, and we'd be thinking, please get out of those chairs. We need those chairs. But now they have they can just actually go and be. It fits what Essere is meant to be. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting.
Yes. It also just supports local even further. It just allows our clients to know that these places are like your other location is going to be close. So then if that's closer to their home, that they can still enjoy that cup of coffee.
Yeah. It grows brand awareness across the board. So it's very exciting.
Absolutely. Yep. Nora, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this for us, but what's the psychology behind coffee and why does it create such a community for people?
Yeah, we always call ourselves daytime bartenders. So it's like we carry the day. It's like you wake up and you start your morning with coffee, and then you leave your house and you take your kids to school, or you go to work, and then you go for your late morning coffee or your early morning coffee. And, it really just bridges the day. And it is, it's one of the most widely enjoyed beverages in the whole world. And there's a reason for that. It's like, yes, it's caffeine, but I think it's also like connection and it's rituals and traditions and things like that. It's like you wake up and you brush your teeth in the same routine every morning, and you have your coffee in the same routine every morning. You do your hair. And so it's like, it's part of people's routines. And if part of that routine is also connecting with the person who's serving you the coffee, whether it's a server at the restaurant or a barista or your stylist, like you have connection over that cup of coffee that's being handed to you. And so like, to me, that's sort of like the part that people don't necessarily think about. It's like when you have a warm, comforting, caffeinated beverage, you feel that in your body, and it's delicious. It's like my favorite drink is black coffee. And I just like love the complexity of really nice, high quality black coffee. That's not everyone's beverage of choice, but it's like I can sit and appreciate and really think through the flavors that I am tasting. It's like we taste coffee all day, every day. So that's like part of our jobs. But, for people who are just consumers of coffee, if you're carrying around a warm beverage, it automatically brings a sense of comfort. And I really believe that it's more so about the human connection of like where the coffee is coming from, even if you're making it, in your home. It's like the part of the ritual of every day. And so like we're carrying your day from the moment you wake up until all the way through until you're back home and ready to relax again. And like, it's just fuel for your everyday needs,
I think she just described my life.
Yeah. There were two things that came to mind. The first one being like coffee's predictable. It's in a world that is, it's something we talk about for our guests all the time. When they come in, we want them to be able to walk through the door and feel like in some way, shape, or form, they can leave all the muck, all the crap outside. And it's a place they can just come to be. Coffee is a place, it's a predictability to the day. It's consistent. It's not something that changes unless you're out of coffee. And that is tragic when you wake up in the morning and you don't have, you're like, should I DoorDash? I don't know what to do. A very crazy thing. The second thing that you said that I think is so incredibly powerful, and I feel like it's something, I don't know if it just happens as you're aging or if it just happens maybe through the evolution of really caring about the details in other people's lives. The fact that you talked about a black coffee and described being able to enjoy it in a way that isn't just going through the motions, like where you actually taste it, where you're taking the time to slow down and experience and taste the different flavors. It's something that I talk about with wine all the time. I thought my mother-in-law retired a hairstylist and she opened a wine bar. And so I kind of thought maybe that would be our path at some point.
Amazing. Yeah.
I don't think that would work for Charles and I because we like wine more than maybe we should. But I always said if I could learn how to drink it like that, it would be different, where you're drinking it to create this experience. And I love the thought of being able to share that idea with more people. So every episode we end pretty much the same way. Since I have two guests on here today, I'm going to ask Katie the question and then Katie can pass it along. basically the question is just, how do you leave it better than you found it?
Absolutely. I think there's so many ways that you can do this. I think for me, it's to be intentional through everything that I do in a day, whether it's with my little boys or whether it's with the clients that I interact with at work. I want to be a positive light to them at any point. So whether it's a compliment or a smile or just really taking the time to see and notice somebody, I think that makes a difference, not only for them, but for me, because then I get to grow relationships that I never thought I would be able to grow or see or have.
Amazing.
So,
I feel so lucky that I get to witness that because you really do breathe that. I mean, you live that. So I feel like it helps me want to do more of that because that's not something I'm naturally versed to do. So now you'll get to extend that question on.
Okay, Nora, how do you plan to leave it better than you found it?
Yeah, I'll take this from a business owner standpoint, right? Okay. So, this is something that we have thought about since before we opened is how do we lead a business like through fully transparent business practices? And not only that, as an employer, right? And so oftentimes like we employ sort of a younger generation. Baristas are younger generations. Like what were we missing in our younger careers? And like, what really could we have learned from our employers had they give us a deeper time of day or cared or invested a little bit more in our futures? And, it's like really, how do we develop the people around us and so we can all grow together? And so it's been something that we have been very active and like strong about is really just trying to reinvest in our team and build them up as much as we can and develop people. And so we do that through all different kinds of, working benefits and things like that, but also like continued development with our teams. And we really believe if have 4 locations and a team of about 40 people, it's like our impact on those people's lives really trickles down, And so like for me, that's where I feel the most passionate right now in my life is making an impact on the people who work around us.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you shared that. And it immediately sparked a quote that someone had shared with me years ago. It was over a conversation about parenting. And I often refer to business ownership as parenting. I mean, it's very much that same kind of path. It's leadership either way you look at it.
Yeah.
And someone had just said, be the parent that you always needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when we share that value and we look at because we have a young team as well. I mean, it's most that start in our industry that come to work for us are mainly a year out of high school.
Right. Yep.
Some of them start in high school with us, which is a different journey. But anyway, it's a really amazing thing to be able to do that or try to stay passionately involved in being an influence in their life. So thank you very much for sharing that. We could not be more excited about our partnership and growing together in the future. And it's very transparent to us that you guys are the perfect fit and really pretty amazing business owners. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.